Standing November 5th, 324 on this fine Tuesday, Election Day Tuesday. Talk really quick about the markets, updates on some of the names, and go from there. Take a look at the S&P, up pretty much 1%, uh, making up for some of last week's poll, or at least last Thursday's poll. And we'll see if we get some continuation. It's funny, the headlines you start reading, it says markets are moving higher on election anxiety or whatever it is. It's funny. It's like, wait, markets are higher on they could have just swapped the headlines and markets could have been selling off on market anxiety. But was talking about this morning the three things that helped yesterday, or at least I thought were silver linings. The VIX going down, yields going down, and small caps leading the charge. So those three things seems like we have a repeat of yesterday, just better for the overall markets, and with U.S. dollars lower. So I'll have to see how this all plays out after the close. You have some citing DJT, which is the like I put it on FinTwit. It's almost like it has been for a while, but a proxy for Trump, right? So that was rallying. Then you see a big dip, gave back all the gains. It's insane. An implied move. I think it was $26 implied move on the weekly strikes. The stock was trading at $40. So you're talking like a 65% implied move just for the week, right? And then it just had three halts from 40 all the way down to under 32, and it's starting to bounce. But who knows what's going to happen here after close? I think the best case scenario is that there be some kind of resolution before we wake up tomorrow morning, in regards to at least be able to call a candidate, no issues, no recounts, none of this stuff that goes all the way to January. So that would be the ideal situation. And then we have to worry about not worry, but another area of concern is who's getting the House and the Senate as well. So if there's a sweep on either side, that's certainly probably going to give add a little volatility to markets tomorrow till things get figured out. I remember 2016, you go to sleep, or once they called the victory for Trump, I remember futures just got destroyed. You're like, wow, it's gonna be. I think it was a halt down, right? The futures got halted, limit down, and then it went on an epic rally. I don't know what the SPY was at the time. I think the SPY was in the 200s. I have to go back and look, but I remember I think it was like 210. It dropped down to 200, and then it closed up like 8%. So it's anybody's guess what would happen with the markets, and everybody's trying to figure out what is the a Trump win, what's a Kamala win, what does that all look like? And I think some of that you would think would be somewhat baked in, but who knows? We'll find out. All right, so 575 on the SPY, which we're over right now, 568 for resistance. We'll see if we get some chop here into the close over. At least we held the 50-day. Well, 568.56 was the 50-day on the SPY. So good signs there. And then the yield, and I put the charts if you watch this, but I'll put them in here. Nice 2-day decline for yield. So I think that certainly bodes well. And then look at the VIX. It was actually, where is it right now? It was close to under 20 just before that little pull. And we'll see if we get that right now. The VIX was close to being under 20. It's back. It hit over 21. Whoops, I pulled it off for a second. So like to see it out under 20. Maybe tomorrow's the day. So I think that sets up well. But to me, it doesn't make sense to trade or be extra aggressive into a possible binary event. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'll wait till tomorrow to be a little more aggressive on some trades here. But some individual names, and first, take a look at, actually two more things. So small caps, back to back, actually 3 sessions to the green side, up 1.5% today. IWM's almost back up to that 225 spot that it hit back in August, July, and back at the end of September and into October. So if we can break over 225, then you look at new highs on small caps. I think that'll happen relatively quickly. And then I was talking about too the 50-day, the amount of stocks on the S&P over their 50-day moving average was flat. 50% of them were over their 50-day moving average coming in today. A little tick up, 10% more names are over their 50-day moving average. Hopefully that starts trending in the right direction as well. All right, so now individual names. So take a look at DELL. So yesterday was its highest level in the morning. I think it was 135.71. 135.72 was its highest level since July. I think 136.71 was the high back in July. So kind of want to see I don't know if we're going to get it today, 135.71, but if it breaks over that and then it can get that July high, then I think it's off the races into the 140s. Half of me, I was looking to possibly close my strikes out the rest of my 145s. But then we have super micro reports after the close today. If you take a look at super micro calls, let's see if I can't even get can I get the DELL? Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what the implied move is right now. So super micro right now is a $7.68 implied move. So you do the math there, $7 well, actually yeah, 765. So that's the implied move up or down, and it's trading at 26.97. So it's a 28%, 28.3% implied move on Supermicro, considering it's had its biggest drop in its company's history. It's hard to say. Like, what can they say that would really spark shares and for a bounce? And you look at the calls. I mean, 28% move, and you start looking. I mean, if there's some surprise, can it get back into the mid 30s? If that's the case, 35s. It's just not. To me, it's not even about the company's revenues and profits and all that. It's like, are they going to get delisted? Are they going to? Who's the new auditor? What's the plan? How are they going to? Uh, Now you have possible. They might have to be fined, or there might be a whole slew. People might have to resign. So all that stuff is still not worked out. So I don't know how you can, what silver lining people are going to find in the earnings. And to me, all it could do, I don't think it'll be net negative for Dell, but I think any kind of snafu, and you have to think that it's continue to be bode well for Dell. But what do I know? I've said this a couple months ago too. I don't know much about Supermicro. I know they do their liquid cooled servers or whatever. Gosh, I remember when I used to make my own computers. I'd have liquid cooled NVIDIA graphics processors. That's how I know NVIDIA from, because that's what they used to. I just knew them from their GeForce line or whatever it was called. That was back in the day. I really don't know what Supermicro in regards to their business. I know they do their servers and things like that. I mean, so does Dell, but so anyway, that's kind of my little rant on Dell. I was thinking of closing those 145s and adding some different strikes, but I'll just hold them. I'll wait for tomorrow, see what happens. And then if it starts to show signs tomorrow of follow through, then I'll start playing for larger moves to over 145. So I'll look for maybe some 150 strikes, so on and so forth. So that's Dell. TravelZoo. I keep trying to put a post together, and I'll probably do one. I don't know if I'll do it tomorrow or the next day, but I mean, look at it, still holding up. It's up another 2% today. Seems like the kryptonite for it has been 18. So once it gets over 18 and holds that, I think it's off to race over $20. I see there's a new beneficial owner. I would say benefit, but someone who holds more than 5%, and it's called like Ocho Capital. So they have a new stake in a company. I think it's 5.6%. I think it's like $8 million stake. I mean, it's $17. You start to look, and they have a very the Ocho Capital is a boutique small investment firm. So I guess they do it for it's like a family office, and they typically have like 5 or 6 concentrated positions. So to think that they just added TravelZoo this quarter, so if you take a look at the quarter on TravelZoo, I mean, maybe they could have got them in the 8s and 9s. I don't know. I don't know what their price or their average is, but to me, it just adds more credibility, or at least the fact that I think more people starting to see that this has a possibility of really starting to take off. Argus Research also had, it looked like a compensated research report that came out November 1st, which was Friday, and they gave an implied value, or at least their price target for TravelZoo at $23. They talked a lot about their membership program that's going to roll out starting 2025. The fact that they think, and their estimate is for a 3% conversion rate, which I said I did the 3% conversion rate. They have 30 million members, right? So you do the math, 30 million members, 3%, that's going to be about 1 million subscribers at $40 a pop. So that's 40 million in incremental revenue. They did 82 million in 2023. So that's a 50% revenue boost, and it's going to be high margin revenue, right? So I can go on a rant for a while on TravelZoo, but I'm going to try to put the post together. But I was saying it, and the CEO on some of the conference calls was saying that once they get the premium member to sign up, because it's going to cost money. You get the emails every day. You go on, you get a $7.99 fly to Tokyo airline, hotel, whatever plan. So usually you would just sign into TravelZoo, and it's compensated by the provider, right? Maybe they had overbooked, maybe it had openings or whatever. So I mean, underbooks. So now when they do that, TravelZoo is going to require you to be a member of their program, which is $40. So right off the bat, they have an incentive. Hey, I'm going to spend the $40. And now once they are the member, now it's an incentive to keep looking at TravelZoo for more, more deals, right? So it's kind of like that cart and a horse kind of deal. I don't know how to put it, but it's going to give them. It's just an incentive for someone who's in that program to continue to monetize TravelZoo's service, and it's good for their advertisers, good for the customer, good for TravelZoo. So it's a nice little ecosystem. But that we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe there's no conversion, and this is just a a pie in the sky kind of situation, and the company continues on its trajectory of pretty much flat growth. Even with that, they just generated $5 million in free cash flow last quarter. If they're on that same pace, you're talking $20 million each a year, and that's just if they don't have any cut costs or whatever. So even in that, you're looking they're going to continue to buy back stock. So all right, so that's Travelzoo. WW reports earnings tomorrow. I mentioned it this morning. It's just something to watch. I have my freebie January 25's got the January 26th as well, so it's a longer term play. Hero Zero, but if they give any commentary around the compounded GLP-1 solution, how that's looking, maybe some updated guidance, that would be great. Oh, speaking of earnings tomorrow too, I'm just putting iRobot on the slide. I had them back in September. The calls, new CEO. I've always liked iRobot. Gosh, I've talked about this back in the COVID days, and when you had, I forget, the GameStop meme thing, and then it blew up. Whatever that guy was. Back in January of whatever, the 2020, 2021, whatever. And I remember I had the iRobot calls, and iRobot went from 100 to 190 in about 2 days. And of course, I sold some of the calls early, but a great trade. But either way, always brings back memories when I pull up iRobot. But interesting, and you see there was huge call action. I think it was 1150 weeklies, has 2,000 contracts traded. This is on iRobot. Let's see if I can find how much they are now. Which is odd. I mean, 2.5 days to expiration. So is that a short positioning? The 1150s have $2,500 contracts traded. So you take a look at 2,500 contracts, it has a 56 open interest. So it's not a closing position unless someone's doing a sell to open. I'm just pretty. You have a binary event tomorrow. You think someone's going to spend that money just on a lotto? Unless they have some conviction. I don't know. You can see I'm struggling for words there, but it just closed over. Well, it's over its 200-day moving average. I don't even know when that is. The last time it's been over it, 200-day moving average on iRobot, I could probably pull up. So that's kind of bullish, and yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. Interesting. I normally I would get some spec calls. Last time it was over its 200-day moving average was back in January of this year. So all right, so that's iRobot, and they still did the Amazon deal going. That's that. Oh, GPCR. It looked like it was going to get some volume here in the afternoon, and then it's just kind of fizzled. I haven't seen any update on their Obesity Week presentation, so hopefully there'll be some kind of update. Haven't seen anything in that. Some of VKTX, it was over 65 this morning. Looked like it was going to break out, and then it's pulling the same shenanigans. So, it's under its 50-day moving average, second day in a row. I'll continue to sit on my hands there, but at some point I'm going to possibly get some monthly strikes like I talked about this morning. And then Corbis, take a look at Corbis. Just a little spike here from 1850 all the way. Now it's 1905, starting to take off. I was saying it yesterday, and I was saying it this morning. 4,600 calls yesterday. Has a huge short interest. I think it's a misunderstood story. And when I think there's a misunderstood story, that means there's an opportunity, at least in my opinion. Take a look today. 2,700 calls traded on Corbis, 8 puts. That's on the heels of yesterday's crazy trades. And it looks like the November 2250s, 1,000 contracts went through at 235. They're all going through right now. That's why we're getting this spike. Someone's just slamming them. 3 o'clock, right? 3 o'clock. I'll have to go back and look. Tons of, and they're not even, it doesn't look like they're spreads. So sorry to do this on the fly here. I should have been a little more prepared with some stuff. The thing is the November 2250s. What am I looking at here? All right. Well, I'll take a look in a minute and I'll try and update. But considering you see the spike here, I can assume it's a good thing. I think that's it, folks. I'm trying to think of some other names to look at here. Win. I mean, I'm not gonna. I possibly thought I might do a red to green this morning after the open. Watching it and then I passed. So I'll continue to sit on my hands there. At some point, I'll revisit. Again, I use this as kind of like was in the 70s just a month or two ago. So maybe that's some of it there. But at some point, I think there'll be another opportunity to play that for upside. Considering Asia markets overnight too, we're doing well. So I thought that might help. Clear Secure pretty much recouped most of yesterday's losses. Yesterday was down nearly 6%. Today it's up nearly 5%. They have earnings Thursday morning. Like I said, I don't know if I said this morning or yesterday, they're going to post a beat and raise. They always post beat and raises. It's going to be a monster quarter. I think they average like a 35% compounded annual growth rate over the last 5 years. It's like a really one of the best growth fundamental stories out there. They're throwing out off free cash flow, special dividends, buybacks. They do all that stuff. It's just a matter of how the market reacts. So if it's another one of those where it's just a continuation, the stock could be in the mid 40s, if not higher. So as much as I would like to add more strikes, I just have the Januaries. I'll just hold on to those for now and possibly revisit Thursday after the open. And I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great afternoon. Rock and roll.